Hi, welcome to the Lisa Saunders Show. I am Lisa Saunders, and today I have two guests with me, Wendy Worley, Hospice Volunteer Coordinator for Masonicare Home Health and Hospice, and Dr. Joanne Z. Moore, the author of After the Loss of a Spouse, What's Next, and founder of the lifestyle magazine Pathfinder, a companion guide for the widower's journey. Dr. Moore also facilitates workshops on end-of-life and bereavement issues. Now, Wendy, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
You've never been here, so
I have not.
Thank you for coming. Now, you coordinate hospice volunteers. What exactly does hospice mean? Because not everybody knows.
Hospice is a holistic approach to take care of not just the patient, but the family when the patient has a 6-month or less diagnosis for their lifespan.
And what does a holistic mean?
Holistic is physical, emotional, psychosocial, medical. We treat the whole body, the whole person. We have different areas where, let me back up. We have different disciplines that take care of the patient and the family. We have the skilled nursing. We have a doctor who's on staff. We have spiritual care counselors to help with the physical part because we all question things, as we're nearing the end of life.
Would that be a minister,
we have
priest,
a minister,
rabbi?
Yes,
or?
It's a minister, chaplaincy. They usually have a master's in divinity.
Okay.
A lot of them are pastors, and they pastor their own church.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have expressive artists, and these are people that can go out and they could do life reviews with the patients and the family. If somebody has an interest in drawing, they can draw with them. They can do physical activities to help them with fine motor skill, large motor skill. We have massage therapists.
Wow, it sounds really good to get
the massage therapist. It is nice. The massage therapists help with pain management. Mm-hmm. They also help with different symptoms that occur with a specific disease. They also help just for comfort and relaxation, agitation. And then we have volunteers who go out and spend time not only with the patient, but sometimes with the family. They may need respite care, and volunteers can do anything, sit there and hold hands with the patient. They can read to the patient. They can do life review also, just be a quiet presence depending on where the patient is that day and where they are in the stage of their disease process.
Now, hospice isn't a place, right? Hospice means care.
Is a philosophy.
Right. So it's not like there's a facility that you're sent to if you have 6 months left to live.
No.
It could be in your home, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be in a
it could
hospital,
be in a facility. It could be in a home. It could be in a hospice care center.
Oh, there is a hospice care center. So that's a place then.
Yes. There's a place called Branford Hospice.
Okay.
And there's certain criteria that you have to meet in order to go to Branford Hospice. And sometimes, we refer patients there. A lot of patients like to stay in their home. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it gets too much for the caregiver. But with all these services that we provide, we also have social work. So that helps with end-of-life planning for any benefits that they may be able to get, any benefits that they have, that the social worker can help them in their
because you wouldn't, because the aide, you might need an aide to help with lifting the person.
We
or
have
getting
home
them out
health.
of bed.
We have home health aides also.
And you give you loan equipment as well, if I remember correctly.
Masonicare is a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. Masonicare is the largest senior care provider in the state of Connecticut.
And Masonicare is more than just hospice.
Masonicare is home and health also. Mm-hmm. So we would provide care of sick care. where somebody is coming home from the hospital for some illness, provide homemakers for them, provide nurses to come in. We provide occupational therapy, physical therapy, all the services that you would get in a large hospital, we would provide.
And it's covered by insurance for the most part?
For the most part, yes. But we do have funds, because we are a nonprofit, that we can provide our complementary therapy, which is massage therapy and expressive arts. They are not covered by insurance.
Right.
So we have funds that cover that.
I see. And how did you get interested in such a career?
I started out as a volunteer.
When was that?
That was 7 years ago.
And had you experienced a loss in your own family or
My
friends?
mom and my dad. Yeah, nothing. They both had terminal illnesses, but I knew nothing about hospice. And as the years go by and more things come on, the scene to better the life of the patient and their family as they're experiencing these illnesses. Right. I always think to myself, gosh, I wish I had known, they would have had such a better quality of life. Not just my mom, but I would have had peace of mind.
So then as the volunteer coordinator now, you're involved in training the new volunteers?
Yes.
And what kind of training program do they get?
It's quite extensive. It's fun, though I have to say it's fun. We have the whole team will come in on a certain night, so we touch every aspect of the patients that we're serving, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, the psychosocial. So all of the team will come in on certain nights, and they will sit down and give that part of what they do for the patient and the family. It's usually a 3-week, 2 nights a week course, and we go through all the things that they would need to know to be a volunteer. There's lots of support, not just from me. We really help our volunteers, because we know that it's a difficult time for the patient and the family, and they're being allowed to come into this experience.
It's a privilege, isn't it?
It is a privilege. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure they understand that. So we go through that. And usually the people that apply do understand that. They are empathetic. They've been in those shoes before.
So what's the application process like?
We have them fill out an application like you would at any job. We consider them employees. Unpaid, but we do consider them employees.
So the same standards.
So the same standards, the same philosophy,
They've
the
not
same
been convicted
policies. No, not been convicted of any, crime. So we have them fill out an application process, and then we do a background check, and then they will come in for an initial interview, and that's kind of where I get to know them, and they get to know the program. I think they need to know where we're coming from, as an agency, and then, where they stand in helping people through their end of life. And then they start if they're accepted in the program, they start the training.
Now, what happens if a patient like my father, who's in treatment, chemotherapy, with this extremely slight hope that he was going to get better? So we just felt like, well, now's not the time for hospice, but he was stage 4. I mean, he was really sick and in pain.
Right.
We have
palliative care.
But do you have to be sure that you're dying? 'Cause what if you still have hope? What happens if you get into hospice and you actually live? Do you get mad?
No, this happened one time to us. My husband was sitting in a chemo chair, and the man next to him said he had failed hospice. He was kicked out.
He was
back in therapy for his cancer.
Well, the doctor would determine that they have a 6-month or less diagnosis.
Yeah, we just never got that. Okay.
But, who can tell, when the end of your life is going to be? We have patients who come onto hospice and graduate off of hospice because we get their pain managed. They're eating well. They have company. they have a volunteer that comes in and spends time with them. Some of the patients' families live out of state. So some of them don't have families, they have conservators. So we kind of come in as their family in that case. We've had patients on hospice for 3 years. We have to show that there's a decline, even how small the decline is. And, they do quite well sometimes on hospice. Like I said, they are graduated. If somebody is not right for hospice, say they are continuing to receive treatment, we have palliative care. And we provide palliative care is we get symptoms under control, pain management. We have the same team that can go in and see the patient under palliative care, but they are still receiving treatment for their illness.
So that's maybe since he was still getting treated to the end, maybe he could have gotten that, maybe get better pain management. I don't know.
It's very hard for a person to say, I don't want this anymore. I'm going to give up. There's nothing else you can do. And it's very hard for the family and the doctors, to let go and come to the realization that it's a terminal illness and their lifespan is going to be shortened because of it.
And what do you do about you have bereavement questions?
Right. I think we know a lot about what hospice does for the patient, but what about for the family members and other loved ones? What does hospice offer for them?
Well, the social worker and we have spiritual care counselors, and they will help the patient they will help the family while the patient is still living, deal with the decline or deal with the final outcome that this disease is going to cause death. They we can follow the patient for follow the family, for 13 months after the patient has passed. We've had volunteers who have made phone calls. We've had volunteers who have gotten, I actually was with a woman for 1.5 years when I was a volunteer, and I spent probably 2 years with her sister, taking her out to lunch every now and then, giving her a phone call. So we have the services. We have the social worker and the spiritual care counselor, mostly with the spiritual care counselor.
So is most of it one-on-one, or are there groups that get together?
We have referral groups. Right now in East Lyme, the spiritual care counselor handles the bereavement. So we have bereavement groups.
Do they meet there in your center in East Lyme?
Right now we don't have a group going on, but we do have outreach into the community for bereavement groups. People will give us brochures or their business cards. So if we feel that somebody needs more extensive bereavement in a group, then we will refer them.
So you can be a source of information for people who want a referral out.
Yes.
And maybe you could help them find the right kind of provider, because it seems a little confusing sometimes. Do I need a neighbor next door to talk across the fence to? Do I need a psychotherapist? Do I need my minister? Do I need a psychiatrist?
Right.
And how do you, and social workers are another great discipline. How does a person choose which of those providers is going to be right for them?
The spiritual care counselor will advise as far as,
So you'd have a discussion between the two of you, and then they would help you choose.
And they would help choose, I actually co-facilitate a bereavement group at our church called Grief Share. So that's another avenue that they could find. Those are usually held at churches because it's a Christian-based.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think that's a ready-made discussion group if you have a faith community, and I believe I love my faith and it's important to me. But boy, less than half the people now belong to a faith community.
Right.
We need to find something for everyone else.
Right.
There needs to be a secular way as well
Right.
of dealing with this.
Yeah. There are other groups within the community, within the patients' communities. Our territory is very large. We go from up Thompson, Connecticut, north to the shoreline. We go to Stonington and Mystic, east, and then west were Madison, Clinton. So we really encompass a very large area.
And you're moving your offices to Mystic.
We are moving
where I
to
live,
Mystic.
Right where my McQuaid's is.
Right.
When I go shopping,
I'm very excited about that because we have a volunteer appreciation every year where we appreciate what our volunteers do for us. And the last 2 years we've had it at the marketing office near the facility that we're building, and we've had McQuaid's cater, and it's been delicious. So I'm looking forward to that. But the facility that we're building is independent living. We have a memory care center, and we have assisted living.
So that means you can be in all phases of being older.
You can.
The
you
kind
where
where you can just be by yourself in an apartment kind of situation.
It's 1 and 2 bedroom and independent living. Assisted living has a kitchen but no stove. There's 3 meals that are offered, and then the memory care is they do your meals for you. There's no kitchen.
Right.
That's great. Yeah. So you can live there and walk to McQuaid's if you want.
You can live there, walk to McQuaid. There's a huge natural preserve also near there. Of course, you have Mystic Aquarium and the villages, Mystic Village. The seaport's right down the street. It's a beautiful area. The apartments are absolutely beautiful.
Oh, are they? Because I haven't really noticed. I mean, I just see the ground, but
our marketing office is right below McQuaid's. As you go into the driveway to get to McQuaid's on Clara Drive, there's a group of kind of like a strip mall, and our marketing department is there, and we have a 1-bedroom apartment in there for the independent living. Granite counter, all, stainless steel, very, very
Do you
beautiful.
show that one apartment to people?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And everything's set up to pick colors and carpet.
And so will you have a bigger space there for your office?
We will be going into where the marketing department is. Yes.
So that'll be your office.
That will be,
so I will see you McQuaid's then all the time.
You
right?
will. You will.
Right.
And then, but all the services that we offer, at in East Lyme will be now moving to Mystic.
So maybe you'll have room for groups there if it's a bigger spot.
I'm hoping. Yeah.
And how about a library?
We don't have a library. Well, each office has what we call a library where we have a lot of different resources. Our volunteer department has loads of resources for our volunteers. We have all kinds of books, and we have this thing called a dementia kit. And we have a lot of different things when people are suffering from Alzheimer's. We have an apron because Alzheimer's patients like to keep busy. They like to keep their hands busy. So we have a soft piece, and we have a zipper, and nothing that would hurt them or harm them. We have crayons. We have coloring pencils. We have picture books. And so the nurse or one of our volunteers can come in and take that and do things from the box.
So you would accept someone with dementia into hospice, even if they weren't able cognitively to understand?
Oh, absolutely.
What was happening?
Yes. The family would
and
be
take
the
care
one.
of the family.
Yes. The family would be the one to, sign them onto hospice. And then, of course, like I said, hospice is a holistic approach. So it's not just the patient, it's the family, and it's living through the illness. It's not, the philosophy isn't this patient has, a certain period to their life and then they're going to pass away, and we're just going to follow them through. We're dealing with the patient who's living, and we're integrating the family into that because the family needs our care just as much as the patient needs our care.
Now you have a vet program. Can you tell me about that?
Very excited. It's called We Honor Veterans, and it's a collaboration between the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization and the Veterans Administration, United States Veterans Administration. And what we do is we identify with a military checklist whether or not the patient is a veteran. And we find out if they have services, if they're not getting veterans benefits, ask them if they want them, and if they do, we go and approach the VA and get them the benefits that they could have while they're on the service. We also provide veteran volunteers. Those are the hardest volunteers that I've had to recruit. And we really are getting a lot of veteran patients, or patients who are veterans, I should say.
So you need more
on our service. So we need more veteran volunteers because they have a relationship.
They get it.
That nobody else can have with a veteran.
Well, that's great to put on the show that you need more veterans.
We
because
do.
Our area has quite a lot of veterans.
We do.
And they can just call your office.
They can come. Yes. And they go through the regular training, but then we also have a separate veterans training for them. And they, every patient who we identify as a veteran, we give them a certificate and a pin. And a civilian can't pin a veteran. So even veterans, if they just want to go out and present the certificate and pin the veteran. And we've had such amazing response from the families and the patients. They are so grateful. The veteran is so grateful that they've been recognized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so those volunteers would go through the same application and training program.
They go through the same application, they do. And I'm very flexible in where I hold my training. You know, if I get a group of veterans at the VFW or American Legion, you know, I will meet them where they're at and
that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I think so.
So you go around in the evenings and provide training, or when?
It is in the evenings.
Okay. So you work nights then?
I do. I do.
Let me switch gears a little bit and talk about pediatrics.
Yes.
Because I think that hospice can even handle children.
In our East Hartford office, which is Masonicare Partners, and why it's partners is they are partnered with St. Francis Hospital. We have a pediatric palliative care. And we provide the same services for the pediatric palliative care that we do for our hospice patients. Volunteers sometimes are not that readily requested for pediatric palliative because the child is living life. They're going to school, they're doing their activities. It's not the same type of living situation that there would be with a hospice patient. And it's a really great program. I worked in East Hartford for a little over a year. I worked both places, East Hartford, East Lyme, so I really got to know the palliative care versus the hospice care.
So if someone's considering becoming a volunteer, what personality characteristics would you look for in that person? Beyond their background check and all, but who makes a good volunteer? What kind of person?
Most of the people who come forward to volunteer have had a loved one who have either been on hospice or they've watched die from a terminal illness. I would probably say 80%. Then we have people that just want to give back. You know, they retired, you know, who want to get into the community, and they have a caring heart and they want to help out people in the community. They have walked in these people's shoes before. They're very empathetic. They understand, you know, the ones that have gone through it, what their family has gone through. They're very flexible with their schedule. A lot of the volunteers also come in, well, I'm going to do good. You know, I'm going to do good and I'm going to feel good because I'm helping somebody else. And I would tell you 9 times out of 10, myself included, you're not giving them anything. They're giving to you. The patients and their family are bringing you into their lives, and they appreciate so much, you know, that you're giving of your time, and they really, really give to you, you know, and you walk out of there thinking, you know, wow, it's a very awesome experience. I can't really come into words. It's something that you feel.
Right. So if the person has gone through a grief experience of their own, or a loss experience of their own, does volunteering help them work through the last stages of their own grief, or have they already worked through it when they start?
I think they need to have worked through it.
So you would say at least a year after?
Yes, at least a year. Yeah. I think that if someone tries to volunteer too soon, and we've had a couple volunteers who have volunteered too soon, and they weren't ready. You know, they've come to us and just said, I can't do this right now. And but we don't usually, that's what the whole interview process is. You know, we want to make sure that they've gone through the period. And, you know, I mean, grief is an up and down. You know, it's not linear.
Right.
You know, it's up and down. You can be great one day and miserable the next. You know, you can think everything's great and you can live life and, you know, you're going to move on and boom, you know, you're back where you were 10 days ago.
Right.
So, you know, it is a up and down process. And we understand that, you know, for people that have lost loved ones and want to be volunteers. That's why we provide the support that we provide. We have in-services. I offer in-services once a month.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left.
Yes.
So is there anything you wish that we had gotten out?
I just would like to reiterate, Masonicare offers many different aspects of healthcare, not just those who are terminally ill hospice. And the East Lyme office really would love to have more volunteers on staff, more veteran volunteers especially.
Oh, now, Joanne, we didn't really get into what you do for people who have lost a spouse. Can you say quickly?
Well, I start up where Wendy finishes off. I really start with, you know, there's that day that you wake up and you've got a bounce in your step again, and you go, well, now what do I do? Well, you feel yourself coming back. And so my work really focuses on what's next in my life. How can I discern?
Which is what your book is about.
Exactly.
We need to close, so people need to get a copy of your book. Give us the title of it.
After the Loss of a Spouse, What's Next?
Right, okay.
And it's on Amazon.
Yes. All right. Well,
and at Mystic Square. Bank Square Books.
Yes. And so was mine that I just wrote, After the Loss of a Spouse, from Henry VIII to Julia Child, if you want to know what 18 famous widowers did.
I know, that sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Lisa Saunders Show, and I look forward to seeing you next week.